All right, so next problem up, and we'll begin by reading that question sentence first. So it says here, if there are 54 type C machines, how many type A machines are there? So again, be very careful. What we want to do is understand what we want and understand the information we're given to work with. So right here, it says we want the number of type A machines with 54 type Cs. Writing that down, blank type A, and then we have 54 type C. All right, so this makes life a lot easier for us because when we are going through and paying attention to the information we have, we see that we have a comparison. We're comparing type A to type C, and if we see another comparison between types A and C again, that means we have a proportion. And here is where we see that. A factory has machines of type A, B, and C in a ratio of 8 to 5 to 6. Now remember, everybody, to make a proper proportion, you need two comparisons between the same two things. In this case, A and C is the comparison that we want. Because of that, everybody, which of these numbers are we going to exclude or not include? Which of these numbers are we going to not care about? The 5, exactly. When we take a look at this, we have type A, B, and C. So B is in the middle. 8, 5, and 6. 5 was in the middle. We don't care about type B here. I only care about A and C. And we have 8 and 6. 8 type A compared with 6 type C. And this tells me all the way that we have a proportion, comparing the same things, A to C, in the same way, A to C. Let's go ahead and just use a capital A for type A. We have A over 54 equals 8 over 6. Again, plenty of ways we can set this up and do it, but what we can happily do here is we can look at our comparisons. We can compare 6 to 54, which is a times 9 relationship. 6 times 9 gives us 54. And if we compare the same things in the same way, like we're supposed to, 8 times 9, my party people, what is that going to give us? 72. And that's why A equals 72 ends up being the correct answer straight away. We can absolutely cross multiply and divide, but what you might find is that, 6 times A is 6A, 8 times 54, that's going to be 432. And then you have 432 divided by 6, which would be 70 plus 70 plus 2, and that's 72. So that was just with mental math, but it's really more so, my party people, about your ability to set the problem up. So with that said, everybody, hope you had a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so new question, but we're going to handle this like we always have. First things first is read the question sentence. So if there are 24 engineers, how many managers are there? Okay, cool. How many managers are there? That is the question that we are trying to answer. So we want to fixate our attention onto managers. So let's write out as if we knew the number of managers. So we'll just say blank managers. And then we saw that in the same sentence, we were given information, 24 engineers. So here we have that, and I'll write that down. 24 engineers. All right. So up next, we're going to take a look at the other pieces of information. So this is the most important part of the problem, only because if you set the problem up wrong, you can know how to calculate all day, every day. But if you calculate the wrong numbers, you're going to be wrong, right? And there's nothing worse than being really excited to calculate only to find out that you weren't even calculating with the right numbers. So let's be careful here, little bit by little bit. So on a project team, the ratio of managers to engineers is 3 to 8. Again, the ratio of managers to engineers is 3 to 8. So remember, how you read a ratio matters. The order matters. The first stated item was managers, so the first number represents managers, which is 3. So that means, everybody, that means that we'll have the comparison, the ratio, 3 managers over here, and then we have 8 engineers over here. Again, if we were to swap these numbers out accidentally, we will automatically get the question wrong. You might have gotten 64 if you did that, even though 64 isn't here. You might have gotten 64 and you might have wondered, that's weird. I think there might be something wrong with this question. And let me know if that's how you felt. But when we have the right setup, where managers are lined up and engineers are as well, this is where we can succeed. I'll use X for managers or M for managers, doesn't really matter. And so what I'll do is I'll write that comparison. Managers to engineers is M over 24. That's my comparison. And then I'll do the same comparison in the same way. Managers to engineers, 3 over 8. So from here, my friends, from here, my party people, we can proceed by cross multiplying and dividing, or we can use simplification, or we can try just comparisons. They will all work. And let me show you. So let me just copy this over, right over here, and let's get to work. Cross multiplying, we have m times 8, which is going to be 8m. Then we have 24 times 3. And if that's not obvious, don't worry. We can always multiply here on the side. 24 times 3, 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Carrying the 1 is 7. And then from here, everybody, we'll divide after cross multiplying. So we'll have 8 divided by 8 and 72 divided by 8. Crosses out on the left side, giving me m equals what, my party people? What is 72 divided by 8? Yeah, that's going to be 9. Booyah, we got the right answer. Feel pretty good about that, right? And now let me show you here on the other side, right over here. If we know how to compare the same things in the same way, you might notice that you can compare 8 to 24 right to left, and that'll be the same comparison up top. Help me out, everybody. How do I go from 8 to 24? Yeah, times 3, absolutely. So there it is. 8 times 3 is indeed 24. So therefore, everybody, the same comparison will work up top. 3 times 3, what's that going to be? And that's going to be 9. M equals 9. And look at that. Same correct answer. And if we noticed that the numbers were convenient, then boom, that is what allows us to get the correct answer much, much, much faster. So again, there's our correct answer, answer choice D.